Yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. I welcome Steve Jones, the ISTA President, and I welcome a number of people in the audience here. First of all, let me mention to you, if you didn't hear it yet, today is World Food Day, which is part of the reason why we are having this webinar today. And just as an information, we will be recording this webinar, and you can later watch this webinar again on the ISTA YouTube channel. We might be using part of it also for some posts. We're having some questions prepared, which we like to go through with Dr. Jones. And on the other hand, you are free in the second part of the webinar to post questions. Please use the question box to pass your question on to us, and I will try that we answer all your questions which you are having in your question section. Thank you very much for the moment on that. That was all technicalities. I would like to start, Steve, to ask you. You are president now of ISTA since July 2019 in Hyderabad, where you took over the presidentship. Could you let us know what has been the biggest challenge for you during this period? Steve, I think you're muted. No, still, we cannot hear you. Now you should be okay.
Thank you, Andreas. You're always in control, so you can switch me off at any time. So thank you very much for the introduction this morning, Andreas, and for the opportunity to talk with you and colleagues over the web. One of the biggest challenges, obviously, for this period has been responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has been a huge challenge for all of us personally and in our daily work and ISTA's work indeed. In my work for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, CFIA, in the seed certification unit at the Saskatoon laboratory, we could only continue to test for export purposes thanks to our section head here and our senior managers who implemented changes for us in staffing levels, created reserve teams, facilitated working from home, and made use of the social distancing that everybody is getting used to now, keep people safe, but also allow us to continue to test for what was identified as a critical essential service, which was part of the seed testing for seed export.
What effects, you talked about COVID-19, what effects have you seen from this COVID-19 pandemic in the seed sector in general, Steve?
So for me, being part of the agricultural seed chain and facilitating farmers to get their seeds to market, it depends on the country or hemisphere when COVID-19 started to hit. Different places were at different stages in their annual seed and grain production cycle, so it could have affected people at crop inspecting stage, harvesting, processing, and in some countries like Canada, it would have been at planting time. So much of our testing was already done, and there were bits and pieces of testing, but now we're going into our active season again, and we still have COVID affecting people and how they work in their daily lives. I know from the ISTA survey that you instituted from the Secretariat, the laboratories told us that in many countries they did stop testing for a little time or a short period, but because the seed testing was identified as an essential service, once they'd got their social distancing and ideas in place to keep the people safe, in the main, the ISTA accredited laboratories quickly adapted and continued to sample and test to ensure continued trade for the seed worldwide. So although there will be and has been some delays in the testing or supply chains, in the main, seed sampling and testing to allow the issuance of the Orange International certificates has continued, and farming has continued. Like you said, with World Seed Day, we need to help feed the world, and governments saw the need as testing as being essential critical service, and to ensure that continued seed supply with quality tested seed, because those quality tests are essential to avoid potential crop failures. Nobody wants to sow seed that doesn't germinate and then creates a whole seasonal problem in an area or a zone. So it was very important to make sure that that seed testing supported the worldwide production.
That was a general view on the COVID-19 pandemic. With that being said, how was it especially affecting the ISTA work?
I mean, like you know, Switzerland, where the ISTA headquarters is based, and the Secretariat, you were affected just like the rest of us, and you needed to adapt the work in the Secretariat. So I know that you instituted safe work practices there, and many of you now are working from home most of the time. Like some of us, I'm speaking to you from my home now in Canada as well. Also, it meant that suspending a lot of the planned travel, moving more to a virtual platform. And for 2020, as people will know, the annual meeting had to be turned into a virtual meeting. So there's a special challenges also for the accreditation team of ISTA in their auditing processes, where there are challenges in the logistics, and the number of audits to be conducted in 2020 has been lower. So that makes plans for 21 and 22 on the high agenda for you and the accreditation team. Until travel is permitted, it's essential to keep everybody safe, but it means there will be delays in that audit process. I mean, we made the decision to move to a virtual OGM, the annual voting meeting in 2020, and that I know was a huge disappointment to the ECOM having to make that decision, and also to our host country of Italy, who at that time were particularly badly hit by COVID. And although we had the chance to hear from friends and colleagues on the virtual meeting, it was a much shorter meeting, but we did manage to hear from Rita Zeccanelli, who gave a very heartfelt welcome from the ECOM as the host nation, and also Stefano Conti for the seed sector in Italy. It was not the same as meeting or talking with people over a coffee, or having a nice walk with people around Verona in the evenings. That part of the meetings, virtual meetings, is something that we miss, and being able to have that social interaction, and ideas often come from those coffee time meetings or discussions with people over a pizza, which I was very much looking forward to. But the virtual meetings do have some advantages. This year we had a lot more people able to join on the web for the meeting, and also for the pre-session information sessions on the rules changes. And it meant maybe we could connect with more colleagues around the world via the web. So maybe that's a good side to something that's happened that isn't good for everybody. By having a separate rules discussion session before the OGM, it did help the annual membership voting process on the rules proposals. And we got good feedback from the membership that they appreciated this. So with the help of Ernest Allen, the current ISTA rules chair, it's something he's aiming to do for the future. So even if we do go ahead and are able to have a physical ISTA meeting in 2021 in Cairo, Ernest is going to facilitate the rules discussion by having a virtual session as well a few months before then. So, business meetings of the ECOM have been affected. The executive committee as president, I chair the executive committee, and the working groups of the ECOM as well. We've also all switched to virtual meetings. Very few physical meetings have been possible, only some of those based in the Secretariat, I think, where you have your own meetings there. But for us in the ECOM, we're having regular virtual meetings for 2 hours once a month. And that's going to help us replace some of the business meetings and things and decisions that we tended to concentrate into a day before and a day after the annual meeting in the May-June, or for the 5-day February meeting where we have a face-to-face meeting. The face-to-face meeting for February 2021 was planned to be in my home city here of Saskatoon in Canada, where the ECOM were looking forward to experience -35 temperature and snow, and enjoy the hospitality and the visit to the Canadian labs here. But now we've had to make that decision just yesterday at the ECOM meeting that will be a series of virtual meetings. So as people can see, ISTA, the way ISTA works, the Secretariat have all been affected by COVID. It's becoming almost routine now to remember to wear your mask and social distance and take care of everybody like that and adapt to the virtual world.
Thank you, Steve. We all hope that these type of things will not occur more in the future, but how does ISTA plan to tackle if it's hit by similar challenges?
I mean, I think from our regular weekly calls that you and I have, that we need to just keep in contact and communicate and the best we can, and have a plan B and contingency plans, even maybe a plan C, D, and E in some instances. So we have those plans ready. Like we discussed yesterday with the ECOM, we're looking at needing to make decisions at different times in the years, maybe 3 or 4 months in advance, looking at further ahead maybe than that, to make decisions so that we have the plans ready. We need to discuss with the membership their needs, how to keep them safe, resume auditing. We're looking at replacing physical workshops with virtual workshops in the short term. Maybe we can have some virtual training longer term as well, but there certainly is no replacement for some of the physical workshops. But we certainly need to look to ways to cope with this in the next 3, 6, 12 months until things become safe again for people to travel. I've mentioned already the ECOM meeting in February, and it may be that the physical meeting, the OGM, there will be parts of that that are virtual, and we'll make some decisions later on in the year as to whether we can go ahead with the physical meeting in Cairo. We hope we can. but we just have to take advice from the different people as we go forward. ISTA is also talking about how to facilitate online training, but it's not as instead of physical workshops, but as well as, and given the current situation, to see what we can do to keep things going in the best possible way. Plants are adaptable and resilient, so are we. One of the key associations that ISTA works with is ISF, and a term they coined at that virtual meeting, or they talked about, was everybody being resilient and working together to change. It's like World Food Day today. We need to work together to help keep that supply and food chain to the world and keep that going. ISTA works closely with organizations like ISF, OECD, UPOF and FAO to help sustain and maintain that food chain and keep people fed and healthy. In one way, the pandemic has forced earlier changes. Some of them we had planned, like I know you'd already moved to Office 365 in the Secretariat. We're now supporting that into the 20 TCOMs and working groups as well, to help facilitate their members in their voluntary work with ISTA. So there's a lot more use of OT. For sure, it would be better if COVID hadn't happened, affecting friends and family worldwide. But maybe it's allowed us to move faster to this virtual use of tools, making better use of the websites and the tools that we have. The problem is, in some countries, the internet is variable, and as an international association, we face that challenge of how do we connect with everybody in the different time zones. So maybe once a month on our econ meeting, some of us are there at midnight or 1 p.m. in the morning, or we have other meetings start at 2 a.m. for some people, and middle of the day for others. It's just something we have to adapt with, and maybe that's not too much hardship for people once a month. That keeps us all safe. Accidentally, it's also meant that ISTA's carbon footprint has been lower in 2020, but that's by accident rather than plan. So it might be something we need to consider for the future. And hopefully, although COVID may have a solution sooner rather than later, we obviously still need to look and work towards efforts on climate change, which are going to affect plants, and there's going to needs for breeders to look at that and work with people, scientists to help work with that as well. So those are the types of things I've been thinking about.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, and as you rightly said, we were able to adapt quite quickly, but that is triggering always also personal involvement, and people have to be ready also to probably have meetings in the middle of the night in some areas. Steve, are there other interesting upcoming ISTA projects, and can you let us know when we can expect to hear of them?
Well, I know you're busy working on a lot of projects that have been instigated from the ECOM and the working groups over the last few years. One project that I know that people are looking forward to are the ISTA e-certificates, where that would facilitate the use of electronic orange and blue international certificates. Also, I know that you're revamping the ISTA website to allow easy payment for workshops and handbooks and other things to be integrated into the bigger ISTA system. So because the ISTA website just isn't a forward-facing website, it has a lot of functionality it needs behind there to allow you to run the secretariat efficiently. So I know that's been a big task, but I think you're hoping to make good progress on that during next year. And we're also talking now with about virtual training. Another initiative to involve people is the Younger ISTA initiative that's being led by Kashivulu Kunasov, the current ISTA Vice President, who takes over as President in 2022. That initiative is looking at trying to involve the next generation of seed analysts, technicians, technologists, and scientists into ISTA and to facilitate that. One of the aims would have been to help facilitate younger people who may not have the finances to attend ISTA workshops and meetings. Those meetings aren't happening at the moment, but we're looking at other ways to try and involve people and look to the future when we can have physical meetings again. We've also got a joint project with FAO just starting, where they want us to work with them to revise a handbook that was published in the 1980s, funded by them in the 1980s, and we're looking to revise that and update it to cover the 2020s and maybe for the next 40 years after that, because that handbook has been around since the 1980s, has been very well used in developing seed testing laboratories in tropical and subtropical areas. And much thanks to the original authors, some of those who I've been corresponding with recently, Joos van der Berg, from the Netherlands, who developed that project, and I'm looking forward to working with colleagues to update that for FAO to be useful for laboratories in the future, in not just tropical and subtropical areas, but hopefully useful for laboratories worldwide. Virtual training, as we mentioned before, that's a project being led in the Executive Committee Working Group. We have a series of working groups to allow the ECOM to facilitate their work. And that particular project is being led by the immediate past President, Craig McGill. And as President, I'm on all the ECOM working groups, and this is one I'm particularly interested in, and is important to me to help provide solutions at this time and in the future. Training is always something I've been interested in, and want to make sure that we can try and help via the workshops. ISTA workshops have always been excellent for people to find out how to do things, but now, given the COVID situation, we have to look for virtual options or other options to help people. Now, Andreas, you're on mute.
Thank you for that. I'm just muted because there was some background noise and I wanted to avoid that it comes from my side. You still have to go until 2022 as a president. That's still nearly 2 years. What are your goals for the rest of this tenure as ISTA president?
So for me, I wanted to ensure that some of the projects we just talked about that we've started are completed. So I'm looking forward to a lot of those projects being completed before I finish in 2022. I hope I can help with the support of the ECOM, who are a great support to me. We can weather this storm that is COVID, and we can be and I can be an advocate for allowing the more training and use of technology and tools. So I think that will be continuing. I want to keep an open line of communication with the membership and the designated authorities who are very important to us in the association, to help meet the needs of the membership. So I'm always eager to hear from people what they need within their associations. And I'd like to continue to engage with other like-minded international organizations that I've already mentioned, like ISF, OECD, UPOV, FAO, and indeed regional organizations like APSA and ASTA as well.
Final question from my side, Steve. Where do you see ISTA in 10 years' time?
So 10 years ahead would be 2030, start of another decade. ISTA will have celebrated its 100 years in 2024. I think it will still be a viable association. I hope it will have new faces and maybe a few old faces working together, like-minded people, like-minded associations. Some of the testing and technology may have changed. In the next 10 years, we may have new technology. PCR for varietal testing, maybe more so for the varietal testing, maybe detecting diseases as well. Even seed ID, machine vision for germination testing, and seed ID are all things that are coming along. But we will still need skilled and talented seed analysts and scientists ready. It's still, seed testing is still a practical, hands-on occupation. Observation, practical needs, and good scientists are always going to be needed. I think I mentioned climate change, so we may have less long-haul flights, maybe more virtual meetings. Innovation is needed. Make use of the gene banks more. It's great to be able to involve gene bank scientists in ISTA, and that's something we could look forward to involving more people. You know, and also for the breeders making use of that genetic plant resource. As new pests and diseases come up over the next 10 years, maybe we need to have other things and new test methods ready to be able to work on those. You know, seed testing and certification is a QA system that underpins the food supply chain. So I think ISTA will still be needed. The scientists and testing people will still be needed, and the seed certification system itself, which goes on behind the scenes quietly and gives people good quality seed, is something that I think still needs to continue. In 10 years' time, I won't be part of the ISTA Ecom, but I hope you will still be there, Andreas, supporting the new Ecom. That new Ecom would be elected to serve in 2022 with 9 members at large being elected every 3 years. So in 2022, it would be working with the then ISTA President starting in at the meeting in the May now, would be Kashevulu Kunisov. And he will need a new VP. So if somebody's interested in being elected for the vice president or working on the Ecom, start talking to us now and start talking to your host countries to see whether they would support you to be on the executive committee. I think you will still have an enthusiastic and innovative group of people to work with, Andreas, and I know you've been a great support to us too, so I hope you will be there in 10 years' time too. I might not be, but there will be others, and I'm sure you will be. I know that's the last question for us, and I know we're coming up towards time, but I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Andreas, for the chance to discuss things with you and others today, and also to thank my second head, Janine Maraschuk, and other colleagues back in CFI Saskatoon for the support they've given me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Steve. Maybe that 2031 is way off my retirement age here in Switzerland, but I do what I can. Thank you for answering our questions, and I think that was a very valuable information to the membership. There was a question coming up, how many people we have here, and we are a little bit always below 95 attendees. That is quite good, and I think it's a good distribution of the information. I would like to go into the Q&A session where we have a few open questions besides hello wishes and other things. There was it's a technical thing on if there's any interest to develop quick germination assessment protocols apart from the tetrazolium testing. That is very technical. I'm not sure if you can answer that, partly probably.
So for the quick germination testing, there are vigor tests already that make use of radical emergence. The best people to contact and get more information on that would be both the chair of the Vigor Committee, Alison Powell, and the chair of the Germination Committee, Gillian, to get information. I know there are projects looking and options to do that, but we have to make sure that the germination test that is ISTA's is predictive of the normal germination that we might get in the field, because that's the thing that ISTA's germination test looks at normal seedlings, not just radical emergence. But there is, like I said, a Vigor test that uses radical emergence, and there is work going on to look at other options.
Thank you. Another question was on the accreditation process, and it comes from colleagues from Bangladesh, and they are asking, they're interested in the ISTA accreditation process. Which time would we prefer from our side? Probably goes back to the point, do we plan to answer their questions now, or should they come back at after the COVID situation? What would be your answer on that?
Well, for sure, I think for colleagues there, get in contact with yourself and Florina, Florina, who is the head of the accreditation department in ISTA. So if they have plans to become accredited and need help with that, we can certainly help. So and give them more details on what's possible at this time.
Yeah, there are a lot of people asking also about the virtual training. I think that is something coming up. You may want to refer to one virtual training which is up now since a few months. That is.
So I was going to say, one of the virtual trainings that we have instigated is how to complete the ISTA certificate, and that is an interactive tool that was developed at the ISTA Secretariat to allow people to easily complete the Orange International certificates in a standardized way, and help explain that. There was always been a how to complete the Orange and Blue International certificates document, but this interactive tool is now available. Another tool that we have was developed by the Balkan and Sampling Committee, which is a downloadable app where they can actually help the samplers work out the number of primary samples that they need to facilitate that sampling. There may be others that you can think of as well, Andreas, maybe like the videos online, both from YouTube, information sessions like this, and as I think about it, also the sampling videos that have been created.
Yeah, these videos you can find on the ISTA YouTube channel, and the link to the certificate guide, how to fill the certificate, is also on the ISTA website. Then from Cheryl, a question, or congratulations and thank you very much for the webinar. Unfortunately, she had to leave, but she will be looking at the recording on our YouTube channel. All the best wishes to you, Steve, and the Secretariat. We will pass that on for great dedication and continued support to the seed world. Stay safe and kind regards. I've got another question upcoming here. Hello, Steve and Andreas. I have a question regarding the e-certificate. Do you have some time frame in which it will be installed? It would help to produce a lot. It will make a whole process quicker. Greetings from the Czech Republic. And maybe that's a question I can answer a little bit better than you can, because we are in starting the project. It is a project which we started just together with, after having the budget since a few months. We are planning to have that together with a new website. We had 4 webinars by now for this process. We expect another one next week, and then the provider will summarize everything, will bring us a paper copy of what we are expecting from the website later on. And the project for the website should be in the first half of next year completed, and we hope with some beta testing, and after some beta testing, the certificates will be available electronically at the end of next year. There are a few things to be observed, but I think that is a timeline which we can pass over.
I'm glad you answered, Andreas, because I didn't want to say and put you on the spot too much and give you a month to deliver it when maybe you needed a little bit longer. But I think, like you said, having the opportunity to launch it as a beta test website so you can get the experience. I know you've already made contact with the laboratories that might want to make use of it, integrate into their own system. So there will be testing and ongoing testing before it's launched properly. So, but I think your time frame that you're suggesting is like towards the end of next year, I think you said?
Yes. I hope to have beta testing in the second part of the year.
Excellent.
Seed movement involves local NPPO, and sometimes they are stricter than usual, and sometimes requesting for importing countries to declare disease which is not seed-borne in nature. How is ISTA work to align with these situations? That is going back to you, Steve.
Certainly from the MPPO point of view, there is the interaction there, and we work closely with ISF to help facilitate the seed trade. So I think discussions about that and about the regulatory needs from countries should go to the governments of those countries via their MPPOs. But certainly ISTA is there to help, and if anything ISTA can do to help in those discussions, we're happy to be involved. But certainly ISTA is there to support in its testing and test methods. I know there's been joint initiatives with ISF and ISTA in the past to help the methodology for disease testing. And it's something that we want to continue doing, and we have good collaboration with ISF and the scientists in different companies. But certainly, if MPPOs want to involve ISTA more and contact us to help in discussions or technology developments, we'd be very glad to do that.
And maybe I can add that we are, as ISTA, having a few crops on our list of our pest list, of our pest list. We shouldn't say regulated, because we have also non-regulated pests on that. And we are planning to have with EPPO and other organizations shortly a meeting. By the way, EPPO has got the ISTA pest list on their website now and is using the ISTA pest list as well here. Thank you to our colleagues in the Seed Health Committee who worked quite a lot on that project and still work on it. I've got a question from a biology student in Canada, and she wants to know how younger people can join as a seed analyst. In Canada, is there an exam ? That's probably something you can answer perfectly.
So the seed analyst profession in Canada, there are 30 private labs in Canada as well as the government laboratories. And if the person would like to email me at my ISTA email, I can provide more detailed information for them.
Now, a question from a colleague of India looking for progress of overall seed science and technology in India. Is it time to make efforts to shift ISTA Secretariat to India?
I think during COVID, we probably shouldn't shift anybody anywhere. But one of the ideas that have come out of the executive committee and are supported by the executive, and I know that Kashavulu, who will be the Indian president of ISTA in 2022, would like to look to have maybe some regional hubs or some areas that might be a focus. So I don't think we would move the secretariat, but we may have the option in the future to have people in different regional areas.
Maybe I can add to that. We are looking into partnerships regionally, and probably, as you said, having people locally as well, not only as a representative, but also as people who can train, people who can help us with audits and so on. So I guess there is a plan of having a type of liaison offices in different areas in the world, and maybe in not India, but Asia in general is a good start for that. I just maybe you keep your eyes and ears open the next week and you find some ideas of that as well. Not that you will find an office to be opened in Asia yet, but you may see the first steps.
So, I mean, for that, you make an interesting or a reminding point there, Andreas, that is in the ECOM, we have 9 members at large, and we try to represent all regions of the world. Those ECOM members are the representatives for those regions and act as a funnel for people to raise regional needs. We have members from all regions, Americas, North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Europe. So we need to try, and we do try by ECOM representation and membership of TCOMs to represent all the regions of the world. That is a challenge as an international organization to involve everybody, but we look forward to involving and embracing everybody, working together.
Now we come a little bit to a technical question, and I think you can answer that one as well, from Dr. Sankaran of India. He's sending greetings and saying, is the standard methods is needed for testing or assessing insect damage in seed samples? This factor is important in seed evaluation, but somehow ISTA rules are silent in this regard. And he thanks us for this nice webinar.
Thank you. The ECOM has actually asked the ISTA Purity Committee to look at how we can make it more obvious about insect detection within the purity testing of ISTA. Although it's silent on insects, as part of the percentage purity testing, you do declare inert matter. And in that inert matter, labs can list the presence of insects, live or dead, and they can do it as a percentage. So that exists within the rules already. And within the X-ray chapter, which has been used particularly for forestry seeds, using X-ray, people would detect insect damage in forestry seeds, part of my scientific background. But the use of it in other crops and the increasing use of other technologies of imaging are things that can come forward in the future. And if there is a need from industry or a need from the communities to have percentage insect damage or insect presence in the ISTA testing, we can look at that, and that's part of what we've asked the ISTA Purity Technical Committee to look at.
Next question is, we know that seed vigor is the correct way of assessing real performance of the seed in the field, but why are we accessing only based on germination? That question comes from India.
So the vigor testing rules involve a whole range of different test methods. And if you'd like more information about Vigor, I think the best thing would be to email the chair of the ISTA Vigor Committee, Alison Powell, who has many years experience in Vigor and different Vigor testing methods, not just elimination. The radical emergence I mentioned earlier is just one of those methods.
And we get to thank you for having such kind of meeting, which is very welcome, and hope it's very informative for you guys. Congratulations to the ISTA President and ISTA Secretary General for arranging this webinar. Seed science publication are necessarily need to be made more popular, for which is there any policy to ensure that these are now I have to necessarily need to be made more popular, for which is there still the question on the policy to make it more popular?
Okay, I mean, ISTA does have its own publication, Seed Science and Technology, and we continue to support that to make sure that is there as a journal for publishing in. Fiona Hay, our chief editor, is looking for articles and for publication. How do you make it more popular? I'm not sure how you make seed science more popular, but maybe that's something the audience can help us with and make sure that there is a need and the work is supported within their different countries.
Yeah, maybe what we can say using the ISTA social media channels, we try to promote seed testing, seed science and technology. If there are new articles coming up, we probably mostly publish some part of it even online and try to get people over to read the journal, which is now available for free. It's open access and people can read for free since 2 years' time. Next question, how to buy new handbooks online? Just visit the ISTA website and you will be, for the new handbooks, which are only available as downloads, redirected to Ingenta Connect, and you can buy there. If you are a ISTA member, you can also buy them by the Secretariat for a reduced price. Please contact the Secretariat on that. You will find Secretariat details on the website, left-hand side, who we are Secretariat.
I mean, the other thing is being an ISTA accredited laboratory, the laboratories get free copies of all the handbooks as they're reissued as well. But like you said, all the handbooks are now electronic as well for download.
Yeah, next question. What recommendations are you providing regarding maintaining delivery of training for both seed testing and samplers during the COVID-19 situation when there is huge emphasis on practical training?
So there is the emphasis on the practical, but I'm in discussions with some of the committees about how they could do it virtually. And a question I have to forward to Eddie Goldschag as part of the sampling committee this week is how we can monitor and train samplers. So that's something that we're going to be looking on. But I mean, what has been done in some countries already is they would video or take images of the samplers taking samples, and it's maybe and should be possible to do that in the future as well. So,
well, if you come to sampling, maybe we can add that there are the sampling videos, the training videos online on the ISTA YouTube channel. You can freely use them also to train new samplers in your organization, which might be especially necessary during the COVID-19 situation where you cannot travel. And on sampling, please also have a look at the website where you can download the ISTA sampling app, which might help your seed samplers to sample the right quantity and the right way.
Those sampling videos deliberately don't have a voiceover, so that people can give their own comments and follow it in their own languages. But equally, if they need help and advice with that, they could contact the ISTA sampling committee.
What I can also add, a first training course, which we probably were maybe offered online, is a quality assurance workshop. The Secretariat, who is mainly responsible for it, with Florina Palada as head of Accreditation and Technical Department, are currently working on that. So that could be a first go-to training for quality assurance. Hello, thanks for this webinar from Italy. Is the next thing, what do you think of ISO 2387 in relation to vegetal biobanks?
So that's an interesting question for me. It's not an area I have any expertise in, so I would need to refer to the technical committee to get some feedback from that. But it's an interesting question, and we will try to respond to you. So do you have the contact details to respond to them, Andreas?
It is from Laura Loguzzo. I hope I spelled that one right. And I would encourage Laura to send some information to either me or you, Steve. Yep. You find our contact details, Laura, on the ISTA website. Congratulations for the webinar. Looking to see progress in India. And we answered the question for having a person in Asia before. Thanks to the President and Secretary for this session. Can ISTA arrange an online training, especially in this COVID-19 situation? I think we answered that also, that we are working on that first on things like quality assurance. Dr. Sankaran is coming back to us and ask if permitted, I'll send the concept paper on insect damage and explain the issue in greater detail. Useful webinar, congratulations. Good that you are able to act so quickly, Dr. Sankaran. We'll be waiting for your paper. When will be the new handbook for sampling available? That is not.
That's a very good question. So we've been working on that for a little while now, and we're hopeful that will be coming out soon. We've been in contact with the lead editor there, and we just need to tidy up a few more things with that. So hopefully we'll be able to make an announcement of that in the near future.
Another remark, kindly provide concession to open access fee for publishing in Seed Science and Technology, considering the budget cuts due to COVID-19 pandemic. Maybe I can answer that question.
Well, I was going to say that's something that I think you can answer in more detail, Andreas, but the thing to let people know is anybody associated with an ISTA laboratory or an ISTA technical committee, they don't have to pay a fee. So if it's a co-author on there who's involved, doesn't have to be the lead author, they would be free to publish, I believe, Andreas, but that's something you can speak to more as well.
Yes, that would have been part of my answer. You see, we are looking for an open access for reading the papers, that everybody can read your articles. The whole process of keeping that upright is costing us between $50,000 and $60,000 a year. So we are using a great deal of the money, but we expect that some money is also coming in again. We know that other organizations, regional organizations, were stopping their publications because it cost them money as well. We keep it up. And we would encourage you also to keep these publication fees in mind when you set up your budget for your projects. That is very important, and don't use it up before in other areas and then ask for a discount. But what Steve's rightly said is, if there is someone on the publication list who is ISTA member by his organization or by personal, or who is member of an ISTA technical committee, then there is no publication fee needed. That is a benefit for members and people who work in ISTA organizations. New emerging diseases are threatening the seed sector. What is ISTA's viewpoint for this?
I mean, for sure, like the human diseases we're dealing with COVID, there are plant diseases and viruses, especially in the vegetable sector, that are creating huge problems for people. For ISTA, for sure, when we can, we work with organizations to help develop a methodology or seed test. ISTA has a validation process that it works on for methodologies with the different scientists in the different areas, and for sure ISTA can help facilitate the development of those methodologies and then publish them so that they become internationally accepted methods, because ISTA methods are voted on annually and have a validation process, and then once they are there, they're available for everybody to use. The getting and responding to those needs quickly is always a challenge, and it's something that we could look to the future to make sure we do, working with other associations to help develop those methods for people. ISTA is a voluntary organisation with membership from all over the world of scientists, so we're working together. If we can develop methods and publish them and validate them to make sure that they are fit for use, that's what we want to continue to do.
So now, next question. We have a number of them with time constraints. I would kindly ask to put no more new questions in now. We try to answer everything which we have, even if we go a little bit over time. Here in Brazil, we have laboratories interested in ISTA accreditation. However, the currency rates are currently generating prohibitive costs. Is there any initiative in this regard? Thank you, Miriam Alvisi, Brazil. You want to answer on that, Steve? Or?
I think the point that they raised is one of the challenges that ISTA faces as an international organisation. What currency do we work in, and what currency fluctuations affect us and the countries? It can make a huge difference into the financial financing for a country. We haven't been able to look at that or do that, and it's something that is a very difficult thing to try and work with in the international situation. At the moment, I don't have any solutions for you, but that's something we can try and think about. I don't know if you have any ideas on that front, Andreas.
Yeah, we have a working group on that, but it is very difficult to go into this area. We will discuss further on this, and I think Shawulu is leading this working group on membership fees. It is a very difficult process, and it's very difficult to add to that. Of course, stronger economies may have it easier, but also their laboratories are sometimes suffering and telling us it's too costly. On the other hand, what we do with a lot of laboratories who have problems, if they approach us and we discuss things together, what could be done and how we could help them to solve their problems, that is something we are doing in the moment also with other countries. So if there are countries and labs, please approach us and we can let you know. Then we have a thank you from Kevin Bertrand on the success of the webinar. A question from Mohammed Mozadul Islam. We have ordered some books, however, we have only got Rules 2020. Please do needful action. Difficult to say what that was. Please contact me and I will have a look into it. Why seed science technology cannot move to Elsevier or Nature Springer platform, which may help in improving the impact factor of the journal? That is a question which I'm not sure if you can answer, Steve.
I was going to say, I think that's something, you know, what I think what the question is then, why do we not move to a different journal platform? That's something really that we would refer to Fiona Hay as chief editor, and we have looked at different platforms in the past. And it won't stop us looking at other options in the future, but that's something I would defer to Fiona, and we can try and answer that person if they email us as well, or if we have the contacts, we'll try and answer that.
Yes, Fiona is participating here, so she probably heard that and may be able to answer it, and maybe we find a way to bring the answer out to the public in a way.
Yeah.
So, Michael Kruse, we had some years ago a debate with EU about the word accreditation. Was there any solution found already, or is it still open? Technically, I don't want to answer that question and would say it is still open, but it is sleeping, and both we all have to keep that as a secret. Everybody who's here. The DJ Sante is not going back to their legal department in the moment. We answered a number of their questions, and also on the background of ISTA. That ISTA is a government-driven organization, and we are doing this on behalf of our member governments or member-designated authorities. And since we explained that to the legal department inside the EU, we did not receive any answer since about 2.5 years. Maybe that is a diplomatic answer on that question, Michael. If you are more interested in details, I'm happy to answer on the telephone as well.
Thanks for the answer, Andreas.
Another question, sir. I'm a fresher in ISTA laboratory. I want to be a member of ISTA committee. Can you guide me about how I prepare and become a member of a committee? That is also a name not that easy to pronounce, Dahanjai Jadaf. If you contact me, then I can try to make contact for you, or we could see what we can do and how we can discuss things. You also may remember that in the ISTA news bulletin, C-Test International, we always have areas for young scientists or young people in the laboratories and interview them, and so they can get a better input, or they can get better into the ISTA family and easier, and maybe that's another point where we can do and help you with this point. Contact me, you'll find my email on the ISTA website.
The other thing to mention is that it may not be that somebody joins a technical committee straight away, but they may be part of a working group within the committee, or their laboratory may be able to help with a validation study or a background study that's been done in preparation for other work. So the technical committee chairs are looking for members at different times, but they're also looking for people to work within working groups before they become full members of committees. So there are options for people. Some committees are very full, other committees are looking for newer members. So it also depends on your specialist area.
Mm-hmm. David Stimson is telling us good webinar. We certainly appreciate your work and efforts of keeping rolling during the pandemic. We do our best, David. Dr. Sankaran is thanking us also for the positive response, and will come up soon with his paper. Now, then Axel Göritz is asking us, thank you a lot for this webinar. SST, that is Scene Science and Technology, is electronically available since 2003. Yes. Is there a content list available in the Secretariat or somewhere else from the former publications before 2003? Axel just sent it to me, but you also got an answer from the ISTA office on that. Maybe you can send us the question over and we will have a look where it is. Maybe Fiona has it, or we find some for answering you. Also, Ignacio Aranciaga is thanking us. Then Daya Gupta, and that seems to be the last question which came in right on time at 16:30. Is there a training on seed programming and its management, including management of seed testing laboratory in developing countries? I think that's a good answer, and you can come back to one of the answers you had on FAO.
So actually, I think what they were asking was very much the 1980s publication that we talked about. So that there is a publication from the 1980s available from ISTA about building and programming and developing a seed testing laboratory, and that is the project where we're going to be updating in the next year or so to have a new publication where we will include some of the newer ideas of QA and the needs within QA, and also updating some of the images and that within it.
Maybe we can also say that we are working very closely with FAO. We have regular meetings. I've got a meeting every month with them. We are updating ourselves where FAO is active in developing countries. We have a number of candidates which FAO and ISTA are following up together in the moment, where FAO is also offering some sponsorship. We wanted to start a project directly in Mozambique. Budget was available. Unfortunately, of course, you know, we cannot travel there. That would have been a week on bringing Mozambique up to speed in quick things, but that will not be going until next year. And there may be other countries where you also can approach your local FAO person, and maybe they can do a little bit more for you. I hope that, no, that is all. I've got no more questions here. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Andreas, for this opportunity, and thank you very much for the audience for staying with us and participating, and I hope we've been able to answer some of those questions. And if we haven't given answers today, we'll either give them in person or provide some updates in next versions of Seed Testing International, which is another way we try and communicate with people. The current edition of that is on the ISTA website. Thanks very much, Andreas, for this opportunity to talk with you and with the wider audience as well.
Yeah, thank you also from my side. We will be continuing with the help of the Marketing and Communications group, so Joanna and Karen, to offer these type of information sessions or webinars for you on different topics. Maybe one future topic is also accreditation, maybe also some technical topics, but we are working on that, this could be a more or less regular, maybe every 3 months upcoming event on different topics which are coming up and maybe hot, and you have a lot of questions. Thank you very much, Steve, also for your answers and for your time. And thank you to all the panelists. I'm very proud that we had more than 90 people joining in total. Have a good day wherever you are. Stay safe. And remember, all people in the seed business are food heroes. Thank you very much. Take care and goodbye.
Bye.